Wait for the bar. Okay. All set.
All right. I'd like to call the meeting of the Personnel Committee of the Albany Public Library Board of Trustees to order. So we don't have any old business. Just want to get back into board docs. I'm terrible. I could never be president. I'm terrible at this. I did the call to order. Now we open up for public comment.
Yeah, you're fine. We have not received any public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to make a comment, you are asked to please send an email to publiccomment@albanypubliclibrary.org or call and leave a voicemail at 518-290-6905. Please leave your name and address, and public comments will be read during designated times. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Before I move on to new business, actually, can I check in about, so we're good? You guys have the civil service letter on lock?
Oh, yes, it's been sent this week.
Yeah, it was
Awesome.
sent via email. It was sent via email from me, and then Rebecca sent a physical one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And I know that they received it. I know that they received it because it got mentioned at the gala that it was received by the head, whatever I can't remember.
Yeah, Rachel McEnany.
Rachel got it, so it's received.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I know that is like old business, but I thought I'd put it in there. That's great. And I'm sorry I wasn't at the gala. Okay, so now on to new business. We are reviewing the Assistant Library Director 4 position, which was last revised in 2006. Now, I know, Melanie, that you commented on this. On the position, and there weren't significant changes, right?
No, there weren't any. It's pretty standard. I didn't see anything that needed to be changed.
Okay. So this isn't like policy where we have to bring it to the full board, right? If we don't make changes, we can just put in that we took a look at it and it was revised most recently in 2021. All right, before I jump the gun there, Tom, Sarah, do you have any?
I don't. I was just going to say, if Scott, if you were saying something, you were on mute.
Yeah, it's just like policy and governance that if there's no change, there's no bringing it to the board. Okay.
No, I don't have any suggestions for this one either. I thought it was good.
Okay. So how do we put in that we have looked at it now to add to the most recent revision?
We still would want you to take a vote, but the vote is basically to say that you accept it as is, and then I put that in the minutes, and that could make it the official mark on the bottom where we
got it. Okay, would anybody like to move to accept the Assistant Library Director 4 position?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Do we go into board docs for that, or?
Yeah, if you're signed in, are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, then yeah.
Or we can just do a voice vote because there's only 3 of us.
Right, either way. Who was the first?
Sarah.
Okay. Okay. Either way, online or you can voice.
Let's just voice vote. Aye.
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 Thank you.
That was simple.
So simple.
And what it will show up is, instead of revised with the date, it will say reviewed.
Okay.
With the date.
Got it. So next we look at the budget manager position, and we actually did have some commentary on this one from our current budget manager. So Adam said that under examples of work, rather than prepares annual budget, he suggested that we say like works collaboratively with probably administration to prepare annual budget. And then rather than oversees the publication and distribution of approved budget, change it to assist with the publication and distribution of approved budget as needed, to kind of emphasize that the budget manager works collaboratively with the administration for these tasks. I don't know if this would have a civil service impact if we make these changes.
So I actually did ask Marjorie about the civil service. She about the job descriptions.
Yeah.
She didn't indicate that there was any real requirements. So even the last time this was brought up was tact, and there was a few other things, thoughtfulness, or whatever it said. She didn't indicate that that is a requirement, and that she does make these changes and can submit them. And it might just say for Albany Public Library at the top, like they will indicate that.
Okay.
I believe my position, for instance, my position was specific, the job description, it says it's for APL.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, that is great news. So what do you folks think about making the changes in the way that Adam suggests?
I would support that. I thought they were good changes. I do have questions about. I cross-referenced this position a little bit with the director of finance position that we approved last meeting. And I noticed that a lot of the things are word for word the same, and some are different and some are excluded. So
Okay.
I just didn't know if that was intentional. I could point out some examples if that's helpful, but I didn't know. Yeah, I just didn't know. It felt like some of the things should be the same that weren't the same. Should I say more?
I think if you can say more about that, that would be useful.
Do you have a specific example?
Yeah. So, for example, sorry.
I'm going to pull up the and share it on the screen from the last board meeting. Just need 2 seconds. Here we go. Can you see that, Director of Finance?
Yeah.
Can you display it as a side by side?
Ooh.
If you put them in separate windows and then minimize them both, and
you're gonna teach me something. Please, please, please.
So I see one tab here. So if you go to the top right hand corner and hit minimize, actually it might depend on how you're screen sharing. If you're screen sharing,
you got to screen share the whole window
screen.
And not just a tab, or the whole tab.
Oh, okay.
Screen.
That's fine.
Getting all my verbs.
Yep. So new share. Oh, it's not gonna. Yeah, that's actually not a portion of the screen. Maybe. Can I make that bigger? Oh, I don't like that. I don't know what's happening there.
It won't let you share your entire screen.
Let me see what it says.
It's not, no.
You know what? If she puts up budget director,
I could just tab them.
and we have access to budget manager, or sorry,
That too.
Yeah.
we have access to budget manager and board docs, so we can compare, like I can put it up in my screen and then
Sorry.
Yep. Okay, I can do that.
put Zoom in like a smaller screen on the left.
Yeah.
That's my low tech solution.
I don't know what just happened.
It's not working this way either. But yeah, so if you have a couple examples.
So, one, oh no. One is the second bullet on the budget manager under typical work activities. The second bullet is missing from the finance director. And I thought I thought that's something that would carry over to the new job. And I'm viewing this as with the possibility that the director of finance would replace the budget manager as a title.
Rebecca, try unsharing your screen. I'm going to try sharing mine because I can bring both of them up. Can you guys see that?
Oh, great. Yeah.
You're gonna have to teach me that someday.
So,
Oh, side by side mode. Look at that.
I don't know, that's something.
And I think you can actually say the same thing about the third bullet in the budget manager sheet.
I mean, I think we could reasonably just grab those and put them in.
Yeah, if we want.
Are you trying to make them more similar or less similar?
I think more similar.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I had the same thought Tom did. Was the intention to create the director position and replace the budget manager position? If so, I would agree with Tom saying that we should bring the bullet points over, right?
Yeah, because if we didn't carry over the third bullet on the budget manager description, then it wouldn't be clear whose job it is to assemble the budget data and prepare analysis. Like, I'm sure the director of finance would do that by default. But if one position is going to replace the other, the duty should carry over.
Yeah, can someone just confirm for us that was the plan, or?
I'm staying silent. I'm staying silent because our hope would be that the current budget manager applies for this position. And if they are the correct candidate, they are the ones who are hired. If that was to happen, then we would probably not backfill the budget manager position.
Hey, Melanie, can you go, some reason they're both showing at the very top as like Director of Finance,
I think
as if
that's,
that's what they're saved as. So it's really confusing. Okay, I just need to make sure I was looking at which one is which. That's really
I think
weird.
it's the same issue that I mentioned with my position.
Yeah,
For some reason, the underline, it keeps renaming them.
yeah.
Okay, I see what Scott is saying. What is the next step for the Director of Finance position? Like, we have to submit it to civil service for approval? I don't-
We need to fit it. We need to fit it into the budget. So we have not decided on a salary, and we don't know if we can afford it with the current budget that we have for staffing.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure then. Because it sounds like at least for the rest of this fiscal year, we'll have either just budget manager or possibly both positions active. So maybe we should just keep it the way it is and review it again later with Adam's suggested changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good time to work on it. We're not necessarily in a rush. So this is the right time to refine the post, refine the job description to what the board really wants to see out of a director of finance or a budget manager. So really what you're doing right now is right. And to be honest, it helps requirements helps when you're doing research and you're looking at what other people are making. I think what you're doing right now, this is the right time to work all of this out. And this is a management confidential position. So, it should really be, what's the board looking for someone in this position? The director is going to want somebody who's good at finance and does the budget. But is this a position that doesn't come to board meetings and you have the treasurer explain what's going on with the budget? Or is this someone who comes as part of the administrative team to do what Adam's been doing as the budget manager? These are all things, this is a really good opportunity to form something before hiring and, what changes in your administrative team.
So I guess I would say, if we agree with the changes that Adam mentioned for the budget manager position, I would also be okay with those. And then maybe we bring director of finance back at our next meeting, and we compare these two positions, and we can like wordsmith and work and edit it prior to our next personnel committee meeting and bring it back and look at it with revisit with edits.
Yeah, go ahead, Jenna.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I just want to be mindful of the timeline since I know we're trying to post the director of finance position. What is our timeline there, and what do we need to be mindful of as a committee?
I don't think we're looking to post that position anytime soon.
Okay.
There's no rush on this. And again, the board's responsibilities when it comes to staffing, besides the executive director and just besides the work of this committee, is to provide a budget to which we staff the library. And that's pretty tight right now. So the budget needs a deep analysis before this position gets created.
Got it. Okay, given that information, I think that we should do what Sarah is asking. I think we can make the changes that Adam suggests to budget manager, which are relatively minor, and then spend some time in Google Docs over the next couple weeks trying to make director of finance better shaped up.
Yeah.
So do we need a vote on, no, we have to make the changes before we can vote on the budget manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's bring that back next meeting also, but just with those kind of minor changes. And Rebecca, are you taking notes on those changes, or is that something I should figure out?
I'm taking the notes.
Okay, thank you.
Just basically, I said, Tom cross-referenced the director of finance job description that was recently board approved. For example, second bullet point from budget manager is not listed under director of finance. And then you want to make Adam Stump's suggested changes and bring it back as unfinished business with the director.
With those changes, yeah. Thank you. No, I meant like, did you figure out what the changes are? But you got it. You're way ahead of me.
I have his email on it. You know, it's
Awesome.
all included.
Thank you very much. Okay. So, because I only have one screen here, sometimes I'm not good at getting the actual stuff done. Okay, so let's move on to the next position on our list, account clerk. So this one is another one that has not been reviewed in like 20 years, it looks like. And it was originally created in 1955. Can folks, I actually don't know what this position is.
Account clerk is the individual who works in the business office who right now that is Kernal. Basically it's Adam's right-hand person. They help process the bills, they help do the payroll, they help count the money in when deposits are made. Pretty much everything in the job description.
The one thing though that actually it is listed, payroll. Kernal, because I had Kernal look at it and he said there wasn't enough focus on payroll.
Yeah, Cronulla is on my butt every other Monday by 9:30 if I haven't approved payroll for the executive director.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So
yes.
There's also some oddness here, like mental alertness, ability to make arithmetic computations rapidly and accurately. That just means good at math, though, right? Like,
it sounds archaic.
It sounds archaic. That's exactly.
It's 20 years old, so.
Yeah.
Which, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, the test for this hasn't been updated since around then either, has it? I think they're still working off the old test. That might be why some of the language is archaic, because the test itself
is archaic.
Utilizes some of the same language.
Yeah, I mean, it's civil service, so it's going to be archaic. no matter what.
Like working knowledge of office terminology, working knowledge of business English.
That was very,
Yeah,
I think we lost you there.
no, it was more of a sigh because it's civil service. Yeah, I mean, that's
the crux of a lot of our issues right now.
yeah. I mean, it's journal, ledger accounts, invoice, payroll, receipts, vouchers, records, and other original entry media, either manually or on automated equipment. Receives remittances by mail or in person. I would also argue via electronic mail.
Yeah.
I mean, my only fear is if we mess with this too much, then it will have to go back to civil service because they will have to review it.
Okay. So do we care that it is archaic? Like,
I mean, we had actually, Melanie and I discussed this a bunch today about job descriptions and about the understanding that typical work activities does not mean they're illustrative only. In other words, you may not do all of these and your job may be just focusing on one of them. So that's why I would disagree with Crenal. It says payroll in the job description. What else does it need?
yeah, compiles payroll data, prepares and checks payroll.
Because if we start messing with this with librarians, some librarians are heavy on reference transactions, while other libraries do a ton of programming. I mean, one could argue what our librarian at Howe does is drastically different than what a librarian at Washington Avenue would do. You don't want to break up that work because it could be in 3 years we get a robot to do payroll, and then we have Crenal do one of these other descriptions. It might be math with an abacus. There's an EMP, and this is all done with paper and abacus, and yeah, we're riding horses into town to meet. So you don't know. So you don't, again, it's that misunderstanding with job descriptions that it has to completely define what you do, or it needs to show what your focus is on. So looking at this, this is what he does.
I still want to take out mental alertness because it sounds.
Got to be mentally alert, Jenna.
And you do
Gotta be
for
awake.
any job.
You have to show up
Yeah.
awake.
I think for this one, the typical work activities, that all sounds fine. But for this one, it's the knowledge, skills, and abilities section that is weird. I don't, the other job descriptions don't have the same language.
Yeah, neatness. Like, come on.
Why does this
Yeah.
position need to write legibly?
Especially when I don't.
I
you
thought
hardly
everything
ever
was
see people's
typing.
handwriting anymore. Everything is typed. That's hysterical.
But once again, should something happen and we
We
do
have the
have
blackout of what you're looking
blackout and
at.
stuff needs to be handled, if they're not writing legibly, a 0 looks like an 8.
Keep a backup typewriter.
We do have
So like what triggers us sending something? How much can we mess with it before civil service would care about the changes?
I think that's something we'd have to ask Marjorie.
because like, why would they care about about the term mental alertness or business
What does
English?
clerical aptitude mean?
Have to be good at being a clerk. Tom, I agree. What would they care? You don't know.
Yeah.
And it may be that they look at it and they say, we now have to change the test because of the description.
Or they could do what they did for our clerk test and say that everything that we change makes sense, but they're not changing the test.
And I'm still not a fan of the physical condition commensurate line either.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
problem too.
Yeah, that's a big
I
problem.
don't love it in most of the positions.
So I mean, what are we reviewing all these for if we're too nervous to make changes? Like what, how much, I don't know how much we can do.
I think it's to identify things that we're really uncomfortable with and going to civil service about it. So I think what might be good is for us to identify what are the job positions that we're seeing listed where we continually see a trend, like physical condition to commensurate with the demands of the position. So my suggestion would be for us to go to civil service and say, listen, we really are not comfortable with these being in our job description. What do we need to do next to get them taken out of the job description? It could be as simple as them going, okay, or it could be with, okay, this is connected to the state, so we need to bring it to a state level. But that's instead of, and we ran into this with policy a couple of years ago, instead of rewriting stuff, really the board should be looking for trends that they're not comfortable with that they want to change. So I think the physical condition part that you all are uncomfortable with, that might be the thing to bring up to civil service.
Okay. So could we take out, no, we can't just take out physical condition. We have to essentially.
Well, why don't we, I mean, that sounds reasonable. Why don't we make an informal Google Doc amongst ourselves, like right now, and as we go through these, write stuff down and write down where we got it from. And once we have that, we can like see the scope of the problem and like address it from there with civil service.
I think that's a really good way to move forward. That's the way I would advise. I think that's really good advice.
I have to get back into my account first. But yeah, I think you're right, Tom. Would someone who is in their Albany Public Library account be willing to start the Google Doc, and I'll keep working on this password?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. It made me sign in again. It's a mess. Okay, I'm in. Yeah, I think that's useful. And then our output here, like we'll put that we reviewed it, but our output can be like bringing all of the issues to civil service at the end of this review.
So you're seeing reoccurring themes in job descriptions that you're not comfortable with. So it should be, we've noticed this in every one of the job descriptions and we're not comfortable with it. Could we make a change?
All right, we're getting close to our hour here for when we have to go into the executive. So we will have no vote tonight on account clerk then, or should we recertify account clerk? But
I don't have an issue with the account clerk position as it's now listed.
okay. Oh, and we don't
I
have
would
to
advise-
vote if we just,
I'd advise against changing it.
okay. And that does not require a vote either if we leave it as is. Tom and Sarah, how do you feel about moving on to librarian 3 and leaving account clerk as is?
I'm good with that.
Yeah, it sounds like that's kind of what we have to do, right?
Yeah,
In our chosen plan.
in our plan of attack. All right, what do you say we look at librarian 3?
Sounds good. I'm gonna send the Google Doc momentarily.
I appreciate that. I actually remember when we revised librarian 3, so I feel good about it. Because we did make some changes to this in the last few years. So it doesn't have like is neat. It's a little more modern. So would a librarian 3 be like a branch manager or like a area manager?
It's a head of branches, so it's
Okay.
It's an area.
So there are 3 of those, right, at this time?
correct.
At this time.
Mary and Rebecca and
Diana.
yep. I'm fine with this one. This one looks really good to me.
Yeah, I thought so too, actually, when I looked at it before the meeting.
Sarah, do you have any feedback about it?
No, it looks good to me too.
All right, what do you say we call this one reviewed and then we get to keep on keeping on?
So can I just not to drag this out, but can I just point out that like this one, it looks like, I don't know if the committee did this or not, but in the skills and abilities section, it's worded all differently and it doesn't have the tact and courtesy stuff. And they all start with ability too. Like it looks like someone edited that to change it.
We did it.
So-
We edited it. I remember editing. I
Yeah.
was on the personnel committee.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like we should do all of them so that they're in kind of the same style, over time. But yeah, otherwise this one looks great.
So maybe in our
other-
Google Doc, we should put like, please see librarian 3 for an example of better language.
With the exception of the physical piece, but I know in the Google Doc, we're putting that in as like an overall, all positions have it.
All right. So if you guys feel okay with moving on, I'll move on to our next item, which is maintenance manager. And this one also, I believe, was changed fairly recently. Well, this one doesn't have the like list.
You know what I noticed on this one is that it still says pending.
Yeah. Why?
I don't think there's an exam for this one. And Scott, why is it maintenance and not facilities?
That I don't understand either. It may be that they have the old version. Is it listed as facilities manager on the?
This is
Each
directly, this is from Albany, City of Albany Civil Service.
When we look at City of Albany Civil Service, how is it listed on the website? And do they just not change? This is the problem with PDFs, is that they not change the PDF?
They must not have, because remember, we did the facilities manager job description, we changed it, and we were trying to get a raise for the facilities. Like, I remember all of this, and it was drama. In 2019. And that
Yeah.
was when the facilities manager left and we got Adam Fire guy.
Fireball.
I am now going to refer to him as Adam Fire Guy.
It's a lot of people to keep track of.
I see him tomorrow at 8:30.
You know what, Scott? You just hit the nail on the head. I am looking, I just went to the website. I'm waiting for it to load. My internet is slow. I went to City of Albany Civil Service Employment under the job description, job titles. And it says Facilities Manager, APL.
I think they've got the wrong PDF up.
I think,
Oh.
no, I'm gonna send you the correct one.
So how do we fix it with them? I mean, we're not looking
We have to reach out to them.
Okay.
Well, it comes up as facility manager. So I don't know how we ended up with maintenance. But maybe because it does say, it also has one listed as maintenance manager, APL pending. So maybe it was kind of like you were doing the same thing with budget manager, director of finance?
No, because it's always been facilities manager. I'm wondering if maintenance manager is Michael. But he's not.
No,
No,
because there is a foreman somewhere. I found a
Yeah, that's Michael.
I mean, I'm looking at the first bullet under typical work activity, plans and administers a current and long-range program for the operation and maintenance of all structural, mechanical, and building components of the public library. So it does sound like the facilities, yeah. Sounds like Adam's position.
Looking at the font, I don't know why, but the font's weird.
Wait, let's look at the
um,
font of the last one.
Well,
Like-
somebody justified it. So you mean all the spaces?
Yeah, it's just weird. It just looks, I think this is an
Different.
old version that they have up.
So we will not review this one.
Yeah, I
then.
mean, because the last date is from 09.
And I know for a fact, like I
What is-
remember.
Because
I think they have the wrong PDF.
I'm looking at facilities manager for the parking authority. Okay.
Who's a very nice guy.
Very nice fire guy.
He's not a,
No,
he's not a
the
fire
parking-
guy.
I was looking at the facilities manager for parking authority, and I'm like, the date says 2020. Like, what is everybody else looking at? But no, I got it. I'm on the right page now.
So this one that I'm showing now, the facilities manager, APL, this one is still wrong? Is that what you're saying?
Where did this one come from? Because it has the same date on it, the 2009.
The one that says facilities manager is the one that's off of the City of Albany website. So where did we pull the one that said maintenance manager?
From the City of Albany. If you look at I'm going to show you right now. Actually, you can see my screen. So there's a facilities foreman, but that
Right.
says CSC. So that's the civil service. But then there's facilities manager, APL, and then we go
It's
to
also
M.
maintenance manager.
There
Right.
is maintenance manager, APL pending. And there's a maintenance 4 person. But the correct one should be this facilities manager one, this one.
Can you scroll to the bottom? Because the date on the top still says 2009. So there should be,
Right.
yeah, because Jenna's saying they did it 2 years ago in 19.
Which makes sense because he's only been with us. Actually, he's been with us 3 years now.
No, but
He came
so
in 2019. He came in just before the
pandemic.
pandemic.
Oh.
Yeah, because we were trying to
Oh,
change
that's right,
the
that's right.
we were trying to get a raise approved for the facilities manager, and I remember reviewing. I mean, like, don't trust my memory, just
No,
generally.
you're correct. You're correct.
Okay. But like I remember that we reviewed and updated the facilities manager position because it was a whole thing with like Alyssa and it took forever.
So where would that other, if there's an updated version out there, where would that be living internally?
Give me 1 second.
Maybe in someone's email from a couple years ago?
I'm happy to look.
We'd want to ask Marjorie.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the person to ask. And just say, hey, is this
Hey.
the right?
Because there should be something with an updated date on it if it was worked on in 2019.
Yeah.
Well, how does civil service work? If you were to approve it within our board and submit it to them, do they also have to like vote to accept it? And then like, how does that work? Or do they, like you said, because sometimes they won't accept it or,
Yeah, we have to reach out to them and say, you know, this is why my suggestion is the personnel, the HR person, director, whatever is coming at some point in the future really should be the liaison for the personnel committee to an extent. Just like Adam is a liaison to the facilities committee, just like
Agree.
Melanie is a liaison to the
I agree.
policy committee. It should be the executive director and imagine whoever the management confidential person is on staff.
Because it would be helpful having her here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Is that a possibility?
Maybe in the future
Okay.
with long planning.
It's something that can be asked of this individual.
Okay.
She has attended board meetings and I'm pretty sure she still watches the board meetings. So
I don't want to speak for her, but I mean,
We can ask.
And I'm just going to throw this out as an idea or a thought. Would it make sense? I know we just said we're going to compile a Google Doc of kind of all the things that come up as we're reviewing. Would it make sense to maybe try to have a meeting with civil service at the beginning of this process and get an idea from them? How much can we change before it has to go through you? What's the process? Just get general questions answered from them?
yeah, I mean, that would be, and I think having Bob involved as well, just a preliminary, what can we do moving forward to change job descriptions? I think that's a smart idea.
I know it was pre-pandemic, obviously, because everything's pre-pandemic. The civil service did have a whole meeting because they were trying to correct their own house. And they did have an open meeting with multiple departments to kind of go over the process and for people to ask questions. So I think they would be amenable to say like, hey, we have a new board or board members who aren't familiar with the process. Can we have a meeting to go over this so we can clarify some things? I think they would be amenable to that. Hopefully.
That would be great.
Also 2 years ago, so I don't know what the new group looks like.
I think that would be super useful. Because I feel like we keep having the same conversation, you know, like, well, can we? I don't know. Like,
You're not allowed to do that, Scott.
Yawn? Sorry.
oh, okay. No, that's not a raised hand. That's my cursor.
Well, it's 7:23, just a reminder.
Okay. So what else do we need to do? So let's leave maintenance manager alone. I think we should talk about, I think we should forego public information officer and library director and instead, talk about how we can have that next meeting where we have the right people here so that we can get on the right page.
Can I just pose one question?
Yeah.
Did we still want to look at the library director position? Because the library director, the executive
Yes.
director was a replacement for the library director. So do we even still have that one on the books?
Oh, is this a maintenance manager situation?
Well, okay. So when I was initially tasked with this to help find these job descriptions, I basically went on the civil service website and found everything and anything that said APL.
Okay.
So like where I pointed out before, where it might say CSC or APL, if it said APL on it, I pulled it. So it might be a title that at some point was used.
Mhm.
It may not be anymore.
It was used prior to Carol.
So-
They changed it with Carol.
Because this is saying last revised in 2006.
But does that mean, Rebecca, you pulled these from places where the public can view them?
Right.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, so
I
that
sent you the
want-
link. It's
my suggestion would be this. I mean, we are doing an audit of HR, but I think the board should express some concern that it seems like what's posted on the city website is not accurate.
Mhm.
And there needs to be an audit done by our HR department of what's currently listed on the website, because it doesn't seem to line up with what we currently have.
I mean, yeah.
You know, it's trustee's job not to write this stuff. It's your job to review and audit and make sure that it's in alignment. So I think the two things that we've gotten out of tonight's meeting, which is substantive, which is things do not seem accurate with city civil service. And also there's some problematic language in some of our job descriptions that we're not comfortable with.
and there's a communication breakdown between civil service and the library.
Mhm.
But that's because there's a new HR director like every year at the city. So
Oh, that's true. I
that's
noticed
the
that.
issue.
Okay, so that would be what? We just draft a letter as a committee to HR?
I mean, I'm wondering if, again, having an Uber meeting with our legal representation and with someone from city civil service to just say, hey, we keep looking at these job descriptions and not only are they inaccurate on the civil service side of things, but also there's some things we'd like to see changed.
Mhm.
I think we should try to get that done. I could do a daytime meeting if I needed to with a little bit of notice. And so we would have Bob, civil service, And then Marjorie. And either Scott or Melanie, depending on when we get it done.
Will probably be Melanie.
Most
I
likely me.
know. You got out of that meeting awfully quick the other night. Didn't say goodbye.
She noticed too.
Wait, the board meeting?
Yeah.
You
You
get to
didn't.
I needed to get to Sopranos before it closed.
You were the
And
first
I have
one.
a few habits, and if they don't happen, it throws me off. And it was, I gotta get to Sopranos. It's my last board meeting. I've been to every board meeting for like 7 years.
Gotta get the pizza.
And it really comes down to who's working the counter. Is mom tired? Is there a Yankees game on? There's
Fair.
between 8:30 and 9, there's a real question mark on whether or not the light is off, the door is locked.
Well, you better get your Sopranos fix in while you can. That's
Well, I did. And
That's why he left.
I had Serranos. They were out
Right.
of chocolate chip cookies. I had to have peanut butter cookies.
oh,
That was my only,
okay.
that was the only, I'm sorry. Rebecca should have told you all why I ran out.
No, we thought that you were trying to avoid sappy goodbyes.
That too.
Well, yeah.
It
I
was
mean, that's, yeah, but it was pizza. It was pizza over my
He did-
discomfort with sappy goodbyes.
I'll back up my boss. He did
Yeah.
mention during the day he had to go to Savrona, whatever it's called, and he did say that during the day. I gotta go. Gotta get my pizza.
All right,
Okay.
it is 7:29 and we have to get to our next meeting. So I'd
Okay.
like to take a motion to adjourn. Is that what
So
we're
moved.
at?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So yes, we
You
have to
all-
leave this room and go to the next.
Okay. All
You
right.
read my
see you
mind.
in 1 minute.
Becky, there's an email for the next meeting.